My name is Olivia, and this is the story of the day I finally understood something brutal. Some people don't love you because you're family. They love the access, convenience, the way your heart will keep paying for their comfort, even when it costs you your own life. I used to think loyalty meant endurance, that if I stayed calm, stayed generous, stayed the responsible one, eventually they'd see me. Eventually they'd respect me. I was wrong. I learned that lesson the hard way with overdraft alerts, unpaid invoices, and the kind of silence that hits right after you lose your job and realize the people you've been saving are already texting you about money. Started small. Always does. Olivia, can you cover the electric bill just this once? Olivia, the water got shut off, I'll pay you back on Friday. Olivia, you know your brother is under stress, he can't handle this right now. I was the daughter who could handle it. The one with the stable job. The one who didn't cause problems. The one who didn't cry too loud. That was my role. The reliable one. The family's quiet insurance policy. My mom, Denise, had this way of making every request sound like a test of love. If I hesitated, she'd sigh like I'd disappointed her. If I asked questions, she'd accuse me of judging her. You think you're better than us because you have a job? She'd say, like my paycheck was something I was holding over her head instead of the only thing standing between her and late fees. My brother, Tyler, was the golden child with the fragile ego. He always had a reason he couldn't pay. A transition. A setback. A bad boss. He'd show up at Mom's house with new sneakers and a grin, then claim his bank account was locked when the phone company called. And Mom would turn to me like it was the most natural thing in the world. Olivia, you don't want your brother's phone cut off, do you? I was renting a small apartment and trying to build a future. Nothing fancy. Just peace. Just stability. I had a savings account I was proud of. Not huge, but growing. I tracked my spending. Cooked at home. I said no to little luxuries because I wanted bigger freedom later. And then, little by little, my family started eating that freedom like it belonged to them. Every time I sent money, I told myself it was temporary. That Mom would catch up. That Tyler would grow up. That I was being a good daughter. But there was a deeper truth I didn't want to admit. I was scared of what would happen if I stopped. Scared of being the villain. Scared of being alone. Scared that if I wasn't useful, I wouldn't be loved. That fear made me generous in the worst way. Made me easy. Then the month came when everything hit at once. Mom's rent was short. Her credit card was maxed. Tyler had an emergency. And my own bills were stacked like bricks on my kitchen counter. I remember staring at them, feeling this tightness in my chest like my lungs were too small for my life. I told Mom I couldn't cover everything. I said it calmly, carefully, like I was defusing a bomb. She went quiet, then sweet. Okay, honey, she said softly. I'll figure it out. And I felt the guilt bite immediately. That night she called again, voice sharper. I talked to the landlord, she said. He's not playing around. If I get evicted, where do you think I'm going? I swallowed. Mom, I'm trying, I said. I'm not saying no. I'm saying I can't do all of it. You can, she snapped. You just don't want to. That sentence landed like a slap. Because it wasn't about money anymore. It was about control. About obedience. About whether I would keep proving my love with payments. I sent the money anyway. I hated myself for it. But I did it. And the next day, my boss called me into a meeting and told me the company was cutting staff. My position was eliminated. I nodded like I understood. I smiled like I wasn't collapsing. I walked out with a cardboard box and the kind of hollow calm that happens when your brain refuses to panic until you're alone. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and stared forward. No tears. Just quiet. Because my first thought wasn't even about me. It was about them. How was I going to keep them afloat now? That's how deeply trained I was. My fear wasn't losing my job. My fear was losing my usefulness. I didn't tell Mom right away. Not because I was hiding. 'Cause I needed one day where my life belonged to me. One day to breathe. One day to figure out my next step without hearing her voice in my head. I went home, set the box down, and opened my laptop. I updated my resume. I applied to jobs. I made a list of calls to make: unemployment, insurance, landlord. I tried to feel like a capable adult. Then my phone buzzed. Mom's name. I let it ring. She called again. And again. The fourth call turned into a voicemail. "Olivia," she said low and tight. "Call me back. Now." I finally called her the next day because I knew she'd find a way to turn my silence into disrespect. I kept my tone neutral. "Hey, Mom." She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask if I was okay. She went straight to it. "Did you pay the electric?" I blinked. "Mom, because they left a notice," she continued, talking over me. "And Tyler needs his phone for interviews. And you know I can't deal with all this stress." Stress. That word again. Like her stress mattered more than my reality. I inhaled. "Mom," I said. "I got laid off." Silence. A pause long enough for me to feel hope. Maybe she'd soften. Maybe she'd say she was sorry. Maybe she'd ask what I needed. Then she exhaled sharply. "Are you serious right now?" "Yes," I said. "I'm applying. I'll find something. But I can't keep paying everything." Her voice turned cold. "So what are we supposed to do?" "We." Not you. Not "I'm sorry." Not "how can we help you?" Just we, like my paycheck was a family resource that had suddenly stopped flowing. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I need to focus on rent and food. I need to survive." She scoffed. "Oh, so you're just going to abandon us?" "Mom, I've been paying bills for months," I said, feeling my throat tighten. "I'm not abandoning you. I'm setting a limit." "A limit," she repeated, mocking. "Listen to you. You sound like those selfish people on the internet." Then she changed tactics. "What about your tax refund?" I froze. "What?" "Your refund," she said, suddenly smooth. "You always get one. You can use that to help. Just until things stabilize." I stared at the wall, stunned by the speed. She had moved from my job loss to my money. Like grief was a minor inconvenience. "It's not even in yet," I said. "But it will be," she replied, confident. "And you owe us. You live a clean little life while I'm drowning. You can't just watch your own mother drown." There it was. The hook. The guilt line that always worked. My chest burned. "I'm not watching you drown," I said quietly. "I'm saying I can't keep setting myself on fire." "Don't be dramatic," she snapped. "It's just money. Just money." The same thing she treated like oxygen whenever she needed it from me. After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and felt something shift. Not anger. Not hatred. Clarity. If your first response to your child losing a job is to ask about their refund, you are not worried about them. You are worried about losing the benefit. That was the moment I decided I would stop negotiating my worth. I opened my banking app and looked at the transfers. I scrolled back through months of payments. Rent help. Phone bills. Car insurance. Grocery runs. Emergency cash. It was more than I wanted to calculate. It was more than they would ever admit. I started a spreadsheet anyway. Not because I planned revenge. 'Cause I needed proof. 'Cause I had a feeling the story would be rewritten the second I stopped paying. And I was done being the villain in a story I financed. Mom didn't give me time to breathe. The next day she texted, So when does the refund hit? I didn't respond. She followed with, Tyler has an interview. He needs gas. Then, if you don't help, don't bother calling me your mother. I read the messages like they were coming from a stranger. That's what distance does. Makes manipulation look obvious. I started applying harder. Every morning, coffee, laptop, job boards. I made it my full-time job to get a job. I was disciplined. I was terrified. But I was moving. Meanwhile, my family escalated. Tyler called. That was rare. He usually didn't talk to me unless he needed something. Hey, Liv, he said, too casual. Mom said you're stressed. I didn't answer the bait. What do you need, Tyler? He laughed. Damn, straight to business. Okay. Look, it's just a rough patch. You've always been good at handling stuff. Always. The word felt heavy. Like a chain. I got laid off, I reminded him. I can't. But you will, he insisted, like my no was a temporary glitch. You always do. Plus, you're probably getting that refund. Mom said it's like $2,000. My stomach dropped. Why are you talking about my refund? He sighed like I was exhausting. Because that's what family does. We share. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. Translation, don't develop boundaries. Don't make us face ourselves. I hung up without shouting. I just ended the call. And my hand shook afterward because that was new. I wasn't the person who hung up. I was the person who explained and soothed and paid. I was learning a different language. Silence. No. Done. The group chat started after that. Aunts. Cousins. People who only showed up at holidays. I heard you're refusing to help your mother. She raised you. Money comes and goes. Family is forever. It would have been funny if it wasn't so predictable. None of them offered to pay Mom's electric. None of them offered Tyler gas money. They offered opinions. 'Cause opinions are cheap. I wrote one message. One. I was laid off. I'm paying my rent and necessities. I can't cover other bills. Please stop discussing my finances. Then I muted the chat. The silence that followed was loud. Not because they respected it. 'Cause they needed new tactics. Mom showed up at my apartment building a few days later. I wasn't expecting her. I opened the door and saw her standing there with that tight smile she uses when she wants to look calm while holding a knife behind her back. Can I come in? She asked. I hesitated. She pushed past anyway. She looked around my small living room like she was inspecting evidence. It must be nice, she said, eyes landing on my couch. Having your own place. I swallowed my anger. Mom, what do you want? She turned dramatically, hand on her chest. What I want is for my daughter to remember where she came from. Then she said it like it was a verdict. You're going to give me your tax refund. I blinked. No, the word came out clean. Simple. No apology. No softening. Her eyes widened like I'd slapped her. Excuse me. No, I repeated. I'm unemployed. I need it for rent, for food, for job searching. She scoffed, voice rising. I knew it. I knew you'd become selfish the second you had a reason. You think you're too good for us now. Mom, I said steady. I have paid your bills for months. And, she snapped. That's what you're supposed to do. You're the responsible one. There it was again. The label they used to justify exploitation. Responsible means available. Responsible means silent. Responsible means you don't get to fall apart. I walked to my desk, picked up a folder, and set it on the coffee table. What's that? She asked suspiciously. A list, I said. Of what I've paid. She laughed, sharp and bitter. Are you seriously keeping score? I held her gaze. Yes. Her smile vanished. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. And in that whisper I heard fear. Not fear of losing me. Fear of being seen. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just said, I'm not giving you my refund. She stared at me like she was recalculating. Then she dropped her final weapon. Tears. Fast, theatrical. After everything I did for you, she sobbed. You're going to let me suffer. The old Olivia would have cracked. The old Olivia would have paid just to stop the guilt. But I looked at her and felt something surprising. Not guilt. Grief. 'Cause I realized she would rather suffer dramatically than solve anything honestly. She wanted the story where she's the victim and I'm the cruel daughter. She needed that story because it excused everything. I opened the door. Mom, I said softly. I'm not doing this anymore. She walked out, crying loud enough for the hallway to hear. And I closed the door with hands that were finally mine. After she left, I sat on the floor behind the door and shook. Not because I regretted it. 'Cause my body had been trained to fear her disappointment like a physical danger. It's wild what we normalize. I spent the next days building structure. I cut expenses. I sold a few items I didn't need. I took a temporary gig to keep cash flowing. Not glamorous. Not permanent. But it was movement. And every time I earned $1, I felt proud in a way that had nothing to do with my family. 'Cause that money wasn't a leash. It was mine. Mom, meanwhile, started a campaign. She posted vague quotes on social media. Sometimes your own children betray you. Mothers sacrifice everything. People commented hearts and sympathy. She loved it. Tyler posted a selfie with new shoes. That one photo did something to me. It wasn't the shoes. It was the audacity. The ease. The way he could spend while Mom cried online about suffering and still look at me like I was the solution. I did something I'd never done before. I called Mom's landlord. Not to pay. To ask a question. Has the rent been late? I asked, careful. The landlord hesitated, then said, Rent is mostly fine. She's behind on utilities, not rent. I thanked him and ended the call, feeling my blood go cold. Utilities, not rent. Meaning she was choosing what to pay. Meaning the crisis was selective. Meaning the pressure on me wasn't about survival. It was about comfort. I called the electric company. I couldn't access her account, but I could ask general questions. The representative was polite. I hung up and stared into space, piecing it together. Mom wasn't drowning. She was floating and demanding I become the engine. And Tyler was the passenger who complained the whole ride. I started writing down every manipulation pattern. Not to obsess. To remember. 'Cause I was still vulnerable to forgetting. Vulnerable to nostalgia. That's how people like my mom win. They count on your softness to erase their behavior. Then the tax refund came. Not a notification. Not a celebration. A direct deposit that landed quietly in my account like a tool. $2,000. I stared at the number, heart pounding. That money could cover my rent. Could cover groceries. Could buy me time. It was relief. And it was bait. Because I knew the second Mom found out, she'd come for it like a collector. I didn't tell her. I didn't post. I didn't hint. I paid my rent the same day. I bought groceries. I set aside a small amount for transportation and interviews. I kept it practical. No splurges. No revenge shopping. Just survival. Then Mom called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, voice sweet like poison. Hi, honey, she said. I just wanted to check in. I love you. Call me back. My stomach turned. She wasn't checking in. She was checking access. I waited. The next voicemail dropped the mask. "I know you got your refund," she snapped. "Tyler saw it on your account when you weren't paying attention." I went still. "You're not going to pretend you don't have it," she continued. "That money belongs to the family. Bring it today. Bring it." Like I was delivering tribute. I sat at my table and felt my hands go numb. Tyler had seen my account. That meant something worse than manipulation. It meant entitlement had crossed into violation. I checked my phone settings, my apps, my passwords. My chest tightened as I realized how much access I had casually given them over the years. Shared logins, shared plans, shared trust. I changed everything. Passwords, PINs, security questions, two-factor authentication. I removed Tyler from any shared accounts. I locked it down like my life depended on it. 'Cause it did. Then I wrote a message to Mom. One message, calm, clear. "I used my refund for rent and necessities. I will not be giving you money. Do not come to my home. Do not contact my employer. If you need help, apply for assistance and talk to your landlord." My finger hovered over send. My heart raced. Then I sent it. And it felt like stepping into cold water. Shock. Clarity. Relief. I expected rage. I expected threats. What I didn't expect was Mom showing up again, this time with Tyler. Like backup. Like intimidation. Like they thought two bodies could force my boundary into surrender. I heard them in the hallway before I opened the door. Mom's voice, loud and performative. Tyler's low, irritated tone. I didn't open immediately. I looked through the peephole. Mom stood with her chin lifted. Tyler leaned against the wall like he owned it. I took a breath and opened the door halfway, chain still on. "What?" I asked. Mom's eyes narrowed at the chain. "Really, Olivia?" she said, offended. "What is this?" "A boundary," I replied. "What do you want?" Tyler laughed under his breath. "She thinks she's tough now." Mom stepped closer. "We're here for the refund," she said. Tyler nodded like it was obvious. "Hand it over and we'll go," he added. I stared at them, amazed at how simple their minds were. Money exists. Therefore I owe. "It's gone," I said. "And even if it wasn't, it's mine." Mom's face twisted. "How dare you," she hissed. "After everything I've done." "After everything you've taken," I corrected, keeping my voice calm. Tyler pushed forward, trying the chain. "Open the door," he snapped. "Don't be stupid." The threat was small but real. I felt fear rise, then settle behind my ribs like a stone. "Teddy, you need to leave," I said. Mom's voice went high. "She's stealing from us," she cried, loud enough for neighbors to hear. "My own daughter is stealing." It would have crushed me once. Now it sounded like bad theater. I looked at Tyler. "How did you see my account?" I asked. He blinked, then shrugged. "You used to let me borrow your phone," he said. "I knew your passcode." My stomach clenched. Not because I didn't know that. 'Cause he said it like it justified everything. "You don't have permission," I said. "You never did." Mom waved her hand. "Stop playing victim," she snapped. "Just give us the money and we'll move on." Move on. That phrase. Like I was an obstacle between them and the life they wanted. I reached behind the door, picked up my phone, and held it up. "I'm calling the police," I said evenly. Tyler scoffed. "Over family?" "Yes," I replied. "Over harassment. Over attempted intimidation. Over you trying to force your way into my home." Mom's mouth dropped open. "You wouldn't," she whispered, suddenly uncertain. And there it was again. The fear of being seen. The fear of consequences. I didn't call. Not yet. I didn't need to. I just needed them to understand I would. Tyler raised his hands. Fine, he snapped. Keep your stupid refund. He turned to Mom. Let's go. She's being dramatic. Mom stared at me with eyes full of rage and something else. Loss. Not of me. Control. You'll regret this, she said softly. You think you're so independent. You'll come back. I held her gaze. No, I said. I'm just finally honest. They left, stomping down the hallway like I had wronged them. I closed the door and locked it. Then I slid to the floor again, but this time I didn't shake as much. 'Cause the moment passed and I was still standing. The next day, the group chat lit up. How could you threaten your mother? We don't call cops on family. Olivia has changed. Changed. Like it was an insult. Like growth was betrayal. I didn't defend myself to the whole family. I sent one message. I lost my job. I paid what I could. I will not be bullied for money. If you want to help Mom, you're welcome to cover her bills. Then I muted them again. That was the turning point. 'Cause silence isn't just absence. Silence is a wall. And walls keep your peace safe. In the weeks that followed, my life got quieter. Harder in practical ways, but calmer emotionally. I took interviews. I worked my temporary gig. I budgeted carefully. And I noticed something. When I wasn't paying their bills, I suddenly had energy. I slept better. I laughed sometimes, small and real. The fear didn't vanish, but it stopped running my schedule. I started therapy. Not because I was broken. 'Cause I wanted to learn how to live without guilt as my compass. My therapist said a sentence that rewired my brain. You are not responsible for the consequences of other adults' choices. I wrote it down. I repeated it like prayer. Then something happened that I didn't expect. Mom's story started to crack. 'Cause when you stop feeding a narrative with money, reality gets louder. People began asking her questions. Practical questions. Kind she hated. And when she couldn't answer, she needed a new villain. She needed me. But I wasn't available. And that made her desperate. A relative I actually trusted called me privately. My cousin Nora. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't cruel. She said, Olivia, I need you to know something. My stomach tightened. Mom has been telling everyone you're sitting on money, she continued. She said you got a big refund and you're refusing to help while she suffers. I exhaled slowly. Of course she did. Nora hesitated. But I saw Mom last week, she said. She had a new purse. Like new. And Tyler showed up with a new tattoo and talked about a weekend trip. My jaw tightened. There it was. The missing piece. The money wasn't gone. It just wasn't going to bills. It was going to comfort. Image. Control. Nora lowered her voice. I'm not saying this to hurt you, she said. I'm saying it because they're turning people against you. I felt a strange calm. Let them, I said. I'm done paying for approval. After that call, I did something I never imagined. I prepared a truth package. Not to post online. Not to humiliate. Just to protect myself if the lies escalated. I organized screenshots of payments. I listed months and amounts. I included notes like electric, phone, rent shortfall, gas, groceries. I wasn't proud of how much I had given. I was horrified. But I was also relieved because numbers don't argue. Numbers don't rewrite themselves. Mom tried to bait me again. She showed up at a family dinner I attended for one reason. My grandmother was there and I missed her. I kept my head down. I smiled at Grandma. I helped in the kitchen. I avoided Mom's eyes. Then Mom made her move in front of everyone. She raised her glass and said, loud enough for the room, "It's so sad when children forget their mothers." People went quiet. Tyler smirked. I felt heat rise, then settle. I stood up calmly. "I haven't forgotten you," I said, voice steady. "I've just stopped funding you." Gasps. Mom's face tightened. "How dare you speak to me like that?" she hissed. I nodded once. "I'll be clear," I continued, not raising my voice. "I lost my job. I paid bills for months. You demanded my $2,000 refund the moment you heard about it. You showed up at my home and tried to force money out of me. I'm done." The room held its breath. Mom's eyes flashed. "You're lying," she snapped. "You're trying to make me look bad. Look like, not be." The same pattern. I reached into my bag and pulled out one sheet of paper. One. Not the whole file. Just a summary. I placed it on the table. "These are the payments," I said. "If anyone here thinks I'm selfish, you're welcome to replace me." Silence. Tyler's smirk faded. Mom's mouth opened, then closed. Grandma looked at the paper, then at me. Her eyes softened in a way that made my throat burn. She didn't speak loudly. She didn't take sides theatrically. She just said, "Olivia has always helped. Too much." The words hit like a bell. Mom spun toward Grandma. "Don't start," she snapped. Grandma didn't flinch. "I'm not starting," Grandma said quietly. "I'm ending." That was it. Not a scream. Not a slap. Just the oldest person in the room naming the truth. Mom's face went pale. Tyler looked away. And I realized something powerful. My family's power over me was built on the assumption that no one would ever say it out loud. That we'd all pretend. That we'd all keep the peace by lying. The dinner ended awkwardly after that. People avoided eye contact. Some apologized softly. Some disappeared. Mom left without hugging me. Good. I didn't want a fake hug. In the weeks after, I got a job offer. Not glamorous, but stable. I started paying my own bills again with my own money. I rebuilt my savings. Slowly. Honestly. I didn't send $1 to Mom. Tyler stopped calling. Mom sent one message that tried to sound normal. "We should talk." No apology. No accountability. Just a request that implied a reset. Like my boundary was a tantrum she expected to end. I didn't respond right away. I waited until I could answer without anger. Then I wrote, "I'm open to a conversation if it includes accountability. I won't discuss money. I won't be guilt. If that doesn't work for you, we can keep distance." I hit send and felt my chest loosen. 'Cause that sentence wasn't about them. It was about me choosing a life where love isn't measured in transfers. Mom didn't respond for a while. Then she sent a single line. "So you really think you're better than us?" I read it once and felt something sad and final. That's the tragedy of people like her. They don't hear boundaries as protection. They hear them as judgment. 'Cause if you stop sacrificing, it forces them to face what they've been taking. Forces them to see themselves. And they don't want to. I saw Mom later in a grocery store aisle. Not a dramatic meeting. Just life. She was picking through produce, looking normal, like she hadn't turned my job loss into a financial negotiation. When she noticed me, she lifted her chin like a challenge. "You got a new job," she said. Not congrats. Not "I'm glad you're okay." Just confirmation. "Yes," I said. She waited like she expected me to offer money by reflex. When I didn't, her mouth tightened. "So you can help again," she said, voice low. I held her gaze. "No," I replied calmly. "I can live again." Her eyes narrowed. "You're really going to do this?" she hissed. You're going to punish your own mother? I shook my head. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm letting you feel the consequences of your choices. She leaned closer, voice sharp. You'll regret it. Family is all you have. I exhaled slowly. That's not true, I said. Family is not whoever takes from you and calls it love. Mom's face tightened like she wanted to shout. But we were in public. She cared about public. She swallowed her anger and replaced it with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Fine, she said. Do whatever you want. Then she walked away like she was the one ending things. Like she was the one in control. And I let her have that illusion because the truth didn't need her approval. Truth was already mine. Later that week, Nora texted me. Mom's telling people you've changed, she wrote. I stared at the message and felt a small smile. Changed. Good. Because the old Olivia would have emptied her account to buy peace that never came. The old Olivia would have apologized for having needs. The old Olivia would have believed guilt was love. But the new Olivia understood something simple. Love without respect is just a transaction where you always pay. And my family had trained me to pay without asking for a receipt. When people ask me now why I don't just help, I don't explain for long. I don't debate. I say, I helped until it broke me. And if they still don't understand, that tells me they were never listening to my life. They were listening to the role they wanted me to keep playing. I still love my mom in the complicated way you love someone who raised you and wounded you. I still wish Tyler would grow up. I still wish my family didn't need a villain to stay comfortable. But my wish is not my responsibility. My responsibility is my own life. My peace. My future. And the truth is, losing my job didn't destroy me. It exposed them. It revealed who shows up when you're not useful. And it taught me the difference between being needed and being loved. Some people think revenge is loud. Public. Cruel. Mine wasn't. Mine was practical. Quiet. Unromantic. It was paying my own rent with my own refund. It was changing passwords. It was locking my door. It was refusing to hand over $2,000 to people who would spend it, blame me, and still call me selfish. My revenge glow was not a glow at all. It was a backbone. And once you grow one, the guilt stops working. Not because you're cold. 'Cause you're finally warm toward yourself.